Welcome to Free MMO Station. My name's Skylant, and today I'm going to give you a first impression, a first look here at a new free-to-play RTS MOBA called Dropzone.
FreeMMOstation.com.
Hey friends and family, jumping into this first impression, this review, this editorial, this rant at me just talking at your faces, let's give you a little bit of backstory on who is making the video and this review so that you can kind of align your biases with me, and then you can see if you want to actually jump into the game. Well, my name's Skylant, and I have a personal channel called Skylant Games. I really prefer multiplayer online games such as MOBA or MMOs, and when I do play these kind of games, I really enjoy player versus environment versus player content, okay? So that's pretty hard to do right, and generally it's done probably to the best in team-based battle arena games, or in maybe the battlegrounds or world versus world of MMOs. So that's what I really enjoy, and yes, I've played every single MOBA aside from Heroes of North, for obvious reasons, and I always play as the jungler role. So a game like Dropzone, which heavily focuses a jungle environment, that is also player versus player, I'm really appreciative of it, okay? Now, not only that, but it's unique in a sense because it's a very small arena, but instead of focusing on the mechanical difficulty, challenge, and gameplay, it focuses on the strategy. So yes, guys, this is a real-time strategy game, though there is some differentiation. Now, my love for MOBAs really doesn't have any bounds. I play every one, and I've been ranked no lower in any one MOBA than Platinum for MMR, okay? So I take them very seriously from Platinum to Masters. And I do play a wealth of other multiplayer games like, you know, Overwatch and Paladin, stuff like that. So I have a lot of experience with just multiplayer games, period. And I have to tell you, from RTS to MOBAs, you know, and also other RTS MOBAs, such as Supernova or Air Mech, guys, I've played them all, okay? And I think that Dropzone is something unique, but there is kind of a catch. Now, we're going to go over the bullet point list of things you can do in this game, but immediately what I'm going to tell you is this. Dropzone has the choice of playing 3v3, 2v2, or 1v1. And right now, tragically, I feel that the 3v3 is just almost a complete waste of time. Except maybe if you're just completely new to the game and you want to introduce yourself to the game, you do the 3v3. You would think that having team-based gameplay would be very exciting, especially as somebody who loves multiplayer gaming, especially MOBAs and hero shooters. And I was really hoping Dropzone would do 3v3 properly like they do their 1v1, but that's not the case. So let me explain how Dropzone works immediately. So if you get into this game and you think it's just going to be you controlling one unit, that's the potential of 3v3. You control one unit with two other players on your team, and you do the do. However, unlike Battlerite, or unlike these other action MOBAs or action RTS, I don't know, it's, you know, the brawler arena genre that's really emergent, you don't have a focus on mechanics or combos. In this game, you have extremely long cooldowns, and there's really just only atrocious leveling up. Yeah, there's a huge amount of customization outside of the match, but normally when we're playing these kind of brawler-esque or these really small, very small arena-focused MOBA, we normally have a very big focus on the mechanics, on the combat, but this game is significantly slower paced than any of those other ones, and the progression of leveling and itemization in this game just doesn't exist. You know, there's no Heroes of the Storm type of leveling. It's just you click your character, you level up, and all of your abilities level up together. So you don't have any picking or choosing or talents or traits, really, and the matches themselves actually kind of have a sportiness to them, and generally you're not going to ever really solo around the map like you would in bigger MOBAs. So yeah, when it comes to the 3v3, I feel like you might as well just look forward to Battlerite. Or play Air Mech, which is a proper 2v2 action RTS, which actually has action. Dropzone is too slow-paced to play 3v3. Now, why then does it change for 1v1? Well, this is where I'm going to really focus on the first impression. See, in 1v1, instead of just controlling one unit, you actually control 3 units. So in Air Mech, you have a lot of action, and you spawn lots of units, true, and same thing in Supernova. You actually have creep control and all that good stuff, you know? So very strategy-wise. But in the 1v1 for this game, you do control 3 separate units who have all the complexities of a normal MOBA character. So you can actually see how, you know, the tactics comes alive. You can see how the strategy comes alive too, and it actually starts to feel more like a proper RTS. And I really appreciate that. Now, there's no base building. There really isn't any leveling. Like, you just choose one character. It's like, okay, this level, I want to choose this character to level up. And that's actually how it works. Your characters don't level up separately. You gain experience, and then you choose one character every, whatever, I'll call it a turn. Every time you have, you know, a level to actually spend, you're going to choose one character. Now, generally what I've seen so far is that you might want to pick one character and just kind of spam them up so that they can get their ultimate really fast, and then you can make some game-changing plays. But maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you just want to spread everything nice and evenly and use them all kind of together in a unit. So really, there are some really weird tactics that you can make, but not to the extreme of normal MOBAs that have itemization and leveling, or the talent system in Gigantic or Heroes of the Storm. So really, to have the full strength of this game, to really get the most out of it, it's the 1v1. Now, if 3v3 still allowed for 3 players that each controlled 3 different units, then we would be talking. Then Dropzone would be extremely good. It would be amazing instantaneously. I'd probably just be spamming it on my YouTube channel personally. Now, I still had fun with it. I think the 1v1 is fun. It is very interesting. And there's more mechanics to talk about, but I just want to say, 3v3, you control 1 unit, and 1v1, you control 3. And the fullest extent of the game is really felt in the 1v1. Now, if they can redo it and make it to where 3v3, every character does use 3 ships, then that'd be amazing. Anyways, let's actually talk about this arena and some of the gimmicks and weird stuff that you can do inside of Dropzone. Because multiplayer battle arenas, what makes them different are the characters. Obviously, you can see here, the characters are a little bit slower paced and they're mechs. Okay, they're called rigs in this game. But the secondary thing that really differentiates every single MOBA is literally the arena. Battle right, extremely small. Here's the Storm. Every arena is different. League of Legends and Dota, yeah, of course, 3 lanes, and so on and so forth. The arena is incredibly important, and in Dropzone, this arena actually is pretty interesting. Now, at first glance, it seems extremely small, like many other brawler-type games. But see, remember, this isn't a brawler MOBA, it's still an RTS. So even though it's kind of smallish, and it kind of does, like, overall the units are more slowish paced, there's some really intricate things about it, and the gameplay actually does play pretty fast. Okay, so smaller arena means big things can happen surprisingly, right? There's a fog of war. There's also freaking jump pads, right? So you can actually jump from place to place and make some surprising plays there. It doesn't need to be overloaded into character kits. That's a problem that a lot of people talk about in games like Battlerite or League of Legends, overloaded kits. This game kind of has the opposite, especially since, you know, you're supposed to control 3 different units. It makes sense. In the 3v3, you really feel it. It feels very dull. But in 1v1, with the map being the way it is, okay, and I guess I could go on and on objectively about what makes it special, but basically, there's jump pads, there's fog of war, oh, and the whole map is essentially a jungle. Yeah, that's the big thing here. So imagine a MOBA that focuses entirely constrained, no lanes, just a jungle. Okay, so there's creeps to kill, essentially, bosses to be had, buffs to be taken, and objectives to be taken and delivered, right? Okay, that's what this game is. And with the gimmick of controlling 3 different characters, all these different objectives to be farming and stuff like that, this leaves me very excited. See, I'm somebody who really loves the specialist classes in Heroes of the Storm. I like jungling, I like moving around different objectives, and I like playing more on the strategy side of MOBAs, yet I still love my mechanics. So generally in a game like this, I would come into it kind of half-hearted. Like, I'm half excited and half I'm kind of weary. So that's really why I'm despondent about the other game modes. But in 1v1, I promise you, it's still going to be pretty interesting. When it comes to some mechanics, I really wish there was more. I wish there was more skill shots. I wish there was more agility. But then again, this game is really more on the RTS side versus the MOBA side. But still, it could be very interesting for a lot of you. If you want more action-packed, you know, RTS MOBA action, stuffs, I don't know, gameplay, go to Air Mech, okay? And if you want even slower paced, then you might want to check out Supernova. Dropzone's right there in the middle, and either way, it's still a really unique title in its own right. So Dropzone, it's definitely more on the strategy side. Now, what really makes it the strategy is going to come from killing creeps, choosing to do the PvE or choosing to do the PvP. So you're all in a jungle, and the map is generally very small. But the game, even though you move kind of slower, you know, I already said that, really every single second counts in this game for a couple of reasons. One, if you're not just hunting down a player, then you're not doing PvE for any second, then your opponent might be gaining a resource. I don't know if you've ever played RTS proper, but every single second counts in that, even in the building phase. You know, when you're setting up your workers, you're setting up your different buildings, being as efficient as possible. It can actually be really annoying in RTSs, the building phase, stuff like that. But in Dropzone, you don't have a building phase. It's just a simple choice. Do you go farm the jungle creeps, or do you go and attack? And then the questions, the answers split out from there and fork out. So then if you are doing the PvE, should you accelerate this by using your cooldowns? And remember how I said the game was slower paced, the abilities had longer cooldowns? Well, see, that's where, yeah, the strategy comes in. So if you use an ability on farming the creeps, well, then if you were to get ganked, that's going to put you at a disadvantage. Not only that, but you're probably lower health. You're also probably maybe a little bit out of position, depending on if they flank you and pincer attack you, stuff like that. Then you could get deaded. So you gotta make these decisions, and it seems like a very slow-paced game, especially in the 3v3, and maybe even in the 1v1 sometimes, but it's a game of decisions, okay? Maybe even you could say rock, paper, scissors. So you have to make these decisions. Are you gonna be more aggressive? Are you going to be passive? Are you gonna do the PvE? And, well, I guess let's talk about more, you know, some elucidation on the PvE of this game. So in other MOBAs, generally the monsters have some sort of skill shots, or they have some unique mechanics, stuff like that. In this game, they just kind of throw a lot of monsters at you, but there are varying degrees of like monsters. So you have like alphas, and you have like the little minions, little zerglings, and then you have like the large sort of raid boss-ish kind of people, and they do sometimes spit out some skill shots at you, but it's nothing to the complexity of what, I don't know if you guys remember Dawngate, but Dawngate and a couple of other Eastern MOBAs, they kind of have those skill shots. Also, Smite has them as well. No, in this game, it's not really that complex. It's really more of a game of attrition when it comes to that kind of things. So yeah, you just kind of park yourselves near the little openings where the creatures spawn, and yeah, you just kind of make them dead. But the interesting thing is that there are bosses that spawn, and these creatures, these little pockets of creatures do spawn all around the map. So where you are definitely matters. It's a lot safer to kill the ones right next to your base. Some you might actually want to risk it and go to the enemy side real quick, and then go back to your own side. But anyways, either way, whatever you do, you're basically doing this for one, experience. The stronger you are, then the better you'll be able to obviously farm, and the better that you will be able to defend yourself or go and attack the enemy. But also, you kill these creatures so that they drop their cores. You take their cores, and this is kind of reminiscent of a lot of light MOBA that you see on mobile devices, or some sports MOBA, such as the new Breakaway. Literally, guys, I've played all these MOBAs, okay? Anyways, take their cores, and then you bring it to the center of the map, and you have to kind of turn it in. Now, it's kind of a similar mechanic to what we see in, I guess, Heroes of the Storm, actually. With a lot of the different maps, you have to go acquire resources and then turn them in. Now, in this game, it's a lot easier to turn in, it seems. At least maybe I've just only played an hour. So I'm playing with a lot of noobs and watching a lot of noobs, it seems. And overall, it just seems like, you know, the turn-in action isn't instantaneously stopped whenever somebody attacks you. So if you have somebody really tanky and turning in, you might be able to get that through anyways. So there is a scoring and sporty kind of element to the game, but there's also these weird achievements, and I think it's map-based. I don't know if it's random each time, but you do have these little achievements in the bottom left of the screen here, where if you accomplish those first, you get bonus points. This is really, really big. So this is where a slow-paced game, okay, even in the 3v3, it's a slow-paced game, and it seems like a very non-complicated RTS, where all of a sudden, every single action you make is critical, and every second really, really matters, okay? So even though it seems like there's not that many decisions to make, you need to make sure you make them decisions, okay? You need to be decisive. Now, when I was watching, when I was playing, actually controlling all three units and utilizing all of, you know, the micro play of these characters actually gets kind of complicated. Now, if you're somebody who plays a full-on RTS like StarCraft, maybe you'll fall in love with this. But if you're somebody that normally plays mechanical MOBA such as Battlerite or League of Legends or even Smite, the game might feel a little disarming to you. You might be a little bit uncomfortable, okay? And that's actually a good thing, because that's unique gameplay. Even when it comes to stuff like StarCraft, I think this game actually does some very interesting things, because each of these characters have unique abilities, and that's not too far off from other RTSs such as Dawn of War and, you know, League of oh my god, I almost said League of Legends, but, well, I guess some characters in Dota, really. There are other games that do sort of strategy elements, and there are RTSs that do ability elements. And League of Legends kind of, you know, borders on that a little bit more with some of their newer characters, with the pet mechanics, and stuff like that. But for the most part, when it comes to MOBAs actually using pets, or, you know, actually having macro play and micro play, you don't really get that. So Dropzone is pretty unique. Even with air mech, it really feels more like you're just kind of spawning creeps. So it's kind of strategy, and then you have the mechanics, but it misses out on the tactics, if that makes sense. If you can actually separate the games and strategy, which is the overarching strategy, tactics, what you do on the inside, where the units are, the positioning, all that good stuff, and then the mechanics, the actual physical input and the mechanical play of the player. This game kind of has a combination of all of that in the 1v1 game mode. In 3v3, it's kind of all thrown out. You do get some added tactics, but because of the team play. But all in all, I really think Dropzone is kind of exciting because of the 1v1. And really, what I could say is I want more rigs, which are the characters, the kits in this game. There's also pilots. I want more rigs, or I guess add-ons to the rigs, because yeah, guys, you can actually switch out abilities in this. Not quite to the master level. It's kind of, well, I mean, actually, it is kind of very similar, but basically, you actually equip different things to your mechs. So I guess, yeah, you can kind of pick and choose some abilities like Master. And you get into the game, and you just kind of level up your abilities attraciously. So I really wish that this game had more mechanics, more skill shots, more fast-paced gameplay, stuff like that, because it's still not a full-blown RTS. And even though it is taking place in the jungle, I've seen much more complex jungling routes in Dota 2. I've seen much more complex overall PvE inside of MOBAs aside from this game. Of course, it's a PvE VP game, which is very exciting to me still. So in the 1v1 game mode, absolutely kind of forgiven, but I would still like to see more out of this game. I mean, every MOBA that's pretty much ever coming out, the first characters that have come out have always been very basic to me. Heroes of the Storm has really come to life. League of Legends, absolutely, though some of you guys say mobility creep is real. Mobility creep is really real in any MOBA, but that's really what makes it exciting. It's a small arena. How you move around the arena is exciting, and people want more and more of that. So Dropzone is very slow-paced, and I appreciate that it is focusing on strategy, but somebody like me with my bias, where I really prefer something like a League of Legends or Smite or Gigantic, stuff like that. I appreciate all MOBAs, and I really do like RTSs, but I want more mayhem. I want more intensity. Otherwise, I might as well just play the new Dawn of War, or maybe StarCraft, or even Halo Wars, stuff like that, where the gameplay is more instantaneously gratifying. Dropzone, a little bit slower paced. Even when controlling all three characters, generally, it's not like all three characters are off, doing different stuff. I mean, even in Dota 2, a MOBA, I have like Broodmother, or, Nature's Prophet, or Meepo, just doing stuff all over the map. In this game, generally, it's more like you're really playing just like one or maybe at most two different characters. They're all kind of lumped together, and you're just kind of selecting the different characters, and they basically only have one spammable ability. So it's not like they have 4 abilities that you're using all the different times or anything like that. Actually, even in non-RTS MOBAs, I have seen more strategic complexity. So Dropzone, I would really like to see lower cooldowns. I would like to see more big impact abilities, at least. Like, if you're not going to lower the cooldowns, I would like to see things that are really much more game-changing. And it was still exciting, actually. I did a little gameplay commentary. I was watching some higher-level players play, and I had a lot of fun commentating that, and I thought it was pretty neat and stuff. Definitely faster paced than something like Supernova or even Dota, freaking hour-long matches, absolutely. But when it comes to the mechanical gameplay of me, the physical feeling of playing, it still wasn't enough. And I'm actually not an RTS veteran, so people who are probably excited about this game are people who are excited about RTSs. And they're coming into this, and it's neat, and it's unique, but in the RTS perspective, it just isn't quite good enough. I think that in the end, Air Mech is much faster when it comes to mechanical play, and still more strategic with spawning everything and creeps in different bases and overall bigger maps. But I really do like the ideas here, and I think it's a pretty good foundation. And from here, we can actually build much bigger, especially with the concept of they're not just adding new characters, but they're going to be adding on new, literal add-ons to the characters. So they can have a basic kit there, and then you can actually add in like a new Gatling gun or something, and you can instantaneously change almost the whole game based on a few additions to a few characters, and you can kind of craft your own kits. You can actually specialize your characters to do different things, and you can have some really interesting strategies, some really interesting tactics, and potentially, if they go in this direction, some very interesting mechanics. Though we have to see how that is. As it is right now, it's decent, it's good, it's unique, but you have to remember that the MOBA and RTS genres, okay, are extremely competitive. RTS is incredibly exclusive, okay, and the MOBA genre has already crowned its kings. So most people will be playing certain MOBAs for very particular things. If you want RTS-like gameplay, you will actually play Dota 2, and if not, then you're going to play a proper RTS, like Air Mech, that's, RTS/MOBA, rather than MOBA/RTS. Dropzone's somewhere in between, and because of that, it's not really feeling like a particular niche. It's really just kind of, it exists, and a lot of people are going to ignore it, and I don't think they should. I think this game has a really bright future ahead of it. I think it is really exciting. I want to see more jungle mechanics when it comes to the monsters. I want to see more skill shots that they spit out. I want to see more unique creatures, and I do like the idea of jump pads. I wouldn't mind more unique map mechanics like we see in Heroes of the Storm. I think that would be kind of interesting and cool, and overall, the character kits are kind of what you would expect. You have your characters that can lay turrets, stuff like that. You have your characters that kind of just, you know, they're basically ADCs. You have some that are tanks. And overall, though, if I had to talk about the game aesthetically, it ran pretty good, and it looks pretty good, though the idea of characterization with the bots and everything, it's a little bit harder to actually fall in love with the character design when they're kind of just robots. I mean, you do have pilots in the robots, but there's overall not like a gushing amount of color and creativity when it comes to something like Gigantic, Smite, or Overwatch, or even League of Legends, a proper MOBA there. So, yeah, Dropzone as a whole, it's neat, it's cool. I want to say it's actually cute. It's definitely going to be an underdog. It could really rise up because it is unique, but then again, just pure uniquity such as Air Mech and some others, it doesn't really cause a game to explode, okay? You need a little bit more. You need to actually try to properly head-on tackle some of these games in this genre. So you either need way more complexity in terms of strategy, tactics, or mechanics, but you need to pick one somewhere and do it. In my opinion, I've already gave out a couple of suggestions microscopically, you know, some changes with a couple of different mechanics, but really what I think would make this game very, very, very exciting is 3v3. If you made the maps a little bit bigger and then also gave us, you know, a little bit more objectives, you know, more jungle creep, stuff like that, more variation in the jungle creeps, and made the 3v3 allow each player to control 3 different units, because team-based RTSs don't really exist. It's extremely rare. At most, it's 2v2, and even then, that genre is probably already filled basically by Air Mech or something like that. So 3v3, each with 3 characters, have bigger maps with more jungle creep presence, and then allow for, and of course, add more parts to the different characters. So we have just a little bit more chaos and fun, and overall, like in terms of mechanics, make them fun. Don't make them just do just simple damage, you know, areas of damage. Give pushes and pulls and more walls and stuff like that. That would be really, really, really exciting. And I think Dropzone, especially because it is a PvE VP game, would be interesting how, you know, maybe if you could make some characters that could, you know, interact with the PvE in a way that would create it to be PvP. I think I actually saw one character that can get a bug and use it as a pet. Not sure. There are summoner class type of abilities. I don't know. Anyways, there's some cool stuff that can happen with Dropzone, but all in all, most of this video is probably me just kind of saying it's nice, but it could be better. And that's, you know, it's a new game. It's actually technically early access, so we have to see where it goes. But in terms of early access, it's very polished, okay? It looks pretty good. It runs pretty good, but it could definitely evolve and be even better. I think so. Now, it is a unique game. It's not the king of anything. It's kind of, you know, in some weird gray spot in between all these other MOBAs, and I've played them all. And I'm going to say, happy with my time with Dropzone. At first, I was a little disappointed with the 3v3, but 1v1's pretty nice. Still, though, if it ever adds 3-player 3v3, holy crap, that would be really awesome. And that would make it truly unique and the king of something, at least team-based RTS. Because you don't really see that. Anyways, guys, that's my full thoughts and opinions, my full first impressions on Dropzone. Hopefully you really appreciate it, and if you want to see more insight into this game or similar games, or just want me to go and find some weird, you know, indie game out there that you've never heard of and maybe want to check out, go to my personal channel, Skylink Games, guys. I work really hard over there, and I really appreciate some love from you guys, okay? So I love these kind of games. I like showing them off, and yeah, sometimes we got to critique them harshly, but when I do that, when I take time to actually talk about a game like this, it's because actually I think it has potential and I do like it. So hopefully you appreciate it, and hopefully you have fun, guys. And my name's Skylint, and I'll see you in the next one.